Hey guys, it's Jeff here. I have been drawn into the darkness on Netflix. Um, there's all sorts of wonderful true crime, and I just for me, I was never into the real serial killers. And back in the day, that would have meant reading a book or you know um, watching a very long documentary, which I wasn't really prone to do as a youngster, but. You know, Netflix has all these wonderful documentaries, and now I find myself, I guess you'd call it true crime. But, well, long story short, I watched the William H. Is it John H. William Gacy? No, it's the John Gacy murders with the tapes from his confessions. And that's about a 3 hour long show. And, oh man, it paints a fascinating portrait of this guy who's like, I guess at the time, one of the deadliest American serial killers. I think he had a body count of like 34 people. And unlike this idea that we have of the average serial killer, he didn't keep to himself. He wasn't, singularly driven or, blah, blah, blah. This guy was like big personality. They call him, I saw this video on YouTube or whatever, they called him a politician. He wasn't, he was a precinct captain at one point for the Democrats. And but the overall picture of him is very outgoing, gregarious, almost like a type A. He ran a business. He managed. He started off his career by managing KFCs, and then he ran a successful contracting company after that, and owned property, had cars and resources, and after he left his wife, he was working 7 days a week, and then he would go out and cruise and find his victims. And what's so interesting is that he also there's a picture of him with Rosalind Carter, Jimmy Carter's wife, when she was stumping in Chicago, when she was campaigning in Chicago, which I thought was just chilling. Basically, he's kind of like round-faced, sort of bright, educated, hard-charging, hard-working Polish guy, and then he also used that to get involved in the community. So he would do all the things that someone like me would do to get involved with the community. He'd join up with local clubs, local chapters, volunteer, and of course his famous trademark thing, which made him even creepier, was that he would clown. He would do clown, and but it's and going back to how I wouldn't really ever heard of him, but I did hear about him, and that's what's so interesting about it, is that Brian Dennehy did a masterful, great acting job in this movie, made for television movie. Back in the early '90s, they would spend a lot of money in these epic made for TV movies that weren't quite feature films, but they were very well done. And a lot of you might not remember, but the first version of It, Stephen King's It, was a made for TV 2-part series. And man, and then what we would do is we would record it on VCR and like fast forward through the commercials, that type of thing. And man, I remember like when I was watching TV at my grandmom's and stuff, like, man, that shit. But anyway, they had this one. It was about 3 hours, about William Gacy, John William Gacy, his full name. But anyway, and it was Brian Dennehy, and it was this guy who was, clearly, homosexual, and he would bring young guys back to his place, um, and then I do remember the cops sort of asking if he could use his bathroom, and then looking for clues and seeing some things that were a little off, and then see, he was a suspect because there were claims against him. There were claims of occasional claims like harassment, or so he was a suspect. And then something about the ventilation was a little off, and it smelled a little funny, which got them to get a warrant. And and I do remember in that movie when they dug up and they found the first body, and it was I had no idea when I was first watching that was based on reality. So it was just kind of a chilling yet pleasing watch.